Hello everyone and welcome back to part 6 of the Ebike series. This time I'm going to be finishing off the paint job of the bike as well as adding the boxes onto the side of the bike. I've been working especially hard today to get this video out so quickly, so roll the tape and let's get started. The first thing I'm going to be doing is mounting the boxes on the side before I apply the paint so I don't scuff it up. For the first box I needed to find a suitable place to mark the first hole. Essentially what I'm trying to do is have rods go through one box, through the frame, through the other box and then securing them on each end with a nut. As I had made the boxes to match the contour of the bike, I had to make sure it lined up properly and I could then mark it in place with a pen. I then used the punch, as with any metal hole, to make an indent, which went mostly smoothly. And once that was done, it was time to drill it out. As accuracy was needed to make sure all the holes lined up, I spent some time getting the drill at the right angle before drilling the hole. Some more time was then spent ensuring the hole on the other side would be in the right place before drilling all the way through. I then removed the burrs with a file to make it neater, and here you can also see the stickers that I mentioned in part 5. After drilling another hole in the same way, I tested the fit by placing the box over the top to check the holes lined up, which they did just fine. Next I marked out another hole before braddling the wood and then drilling it out. After a bit of it was finally time to drill the third hole in the metal like before. In case you're wondering, this bike frame is made of steel, which absorbs vibrations better and is harder wearing but also weighs more than an aluminium one. The hole was tested in the same way with 3 uncut lengths of rod and it fit again. Not that I'd expect anything else with DIY. Later on, I'm going to cut all the rods to fit so they have just enough length to go through and have a nut on each end. With a nut on one end, I pushed it through the other side and with a bit of repositioning, it showed right up. Hooray! That was the easy part, getting the first box on. Now I had to match up the holes onto the second box and make sure they lined up. My technique was just to pick one of the corner holes to drill so that I could use it as a pivot whilst marking out the rest. With that done, I put the little rod through and then began yet another laborious process of making the 2 boxes level before I did the opposite hole. This didn't turn out quite how I'd like it, but it's really hard to notice unless you whip out spirit level. The hole was then braddled, drilled, and the box kept fitted. After doing the rest off camera, I decided it was high time to start painting the boxes. Before I could do that, however, I had to take off the lids to get access to different parts, but once that was done, I primed them with white primer. As the wood was MDF and the weather was warm, the primer soaked in and dried very quickly. I then went round the edges, painted the main box, and filled in the gaps where the hinges would go. So it's now the next day, and the boxes that have been primed are obviously now dry. I've got a few more holes to drill which I forgot to do, which is kind of annoying. I might have to repaint those bits. But after that I'm going to give them some black spray paint as well. However, the main thing today is to finish painting the bike. So I've obviously got this middle section here which I didn't paint because I was doing all the holes in it. So I'm going to hit that with some primer first and then give the whole thing a nice black coat to look like these forks, which I think look absolutely gorgeous. So without further ado, I'm going to get this sticker off and then start sanding it down ready to prime. That's had some time to dry, so let's put the second coat on. Okay, here we go. Just to make sure the black paint would work on wood, I prepared a test piece and it all worked out fine. Finally, I then repeated the whole painting process on the other parts. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that concludes it for part 6. Stay tuned to part 7, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe, comment down below if you've got any future video suggestions, and I'll see you in the next one.